Episode 9 of the Broadway Shuffle, a Texas Tech sports podcast with Conrad, Clayton, and Zyler. I'm Brennan, and welcome, Red Raiders, to another week coming off another sweet Red Raider victory. Texas Tech knocked off the Sun Devils 30-22 in the Jones on Saturday to improve to 3-1 and 1-0 in the Big 12. And that, beautiful people of Texas Tech, means that our Kool-Aid factory is, in fact, alive and well and humming. And so, if you are new to our channel and to our video, we are the creators of the Texas Tech Kool-Aid Factory, and we have a CEO of that Kool-Aid Factory. His name is Conrad Mills. And so, Conrad, without further ado, after our great start to the Big 12 season, going 1-0 at home, what is the state of the Kool-Aid Factory here on Monday morning?
One second, please. Friends, family, loyal listeners of the Broadway Shuffle and Red Raider Nation, the Kool-Aid Factory is humming. We produced countless cases of Sun Devil sangria, and after that Saturday's showing, it shows us that we were well justified in producing the Kool-Aid. So get on board with us. The Kool-Aid Factory is coming. Arlington, here we come. You heard it here first. We're going to be there. Keep on believing, keep on buying the Cougar juice, the Sun Devil sangria, the green apple. Buy all of it. We still have it for you. Some of it you may not want, but the Sun Devil sangria sure did the trick. So we are ready. We are going, and we are going to Arlington. Wreck 'em, baby.
Oh, wow. Well, if you're not able to watch us on YouTube or Spotify, Conrad just pulled up a absolute jug of Kool-Aid and is chugging it live on air. So
I'm going to drink this whole thing before the episode is over.
You'll be up for like 24 hours. So yeah, man, Texas Tech, Clayton, Zyler, how are y'all doing? We're 3-1, boys. You feeling pretty good?
Yeah, I mean, you'll always take a conference opening win. Arizona State got welcomed to the Big 12 with a loss, and I won't have too many complaints about that. I think there's some people that may have some gripes, but I will not be one of them. Excited for the boys and looking forward to next week.
Yeah, same. I feel a lot better after game 4 than I thought I was going to after the second game of the year. So I'll pretty much take any W I can get.
Yeah, last year at this time we were 1-3, so we're 2 games better. Joey started 3-1 his first year as well, so off to a fairly good start this year. Joey, in his tenure, we've typically started poorly, and then we found a way to start winning some games at the end of October and November. So hopefully we go pretty well here in the middle and then continue the trend that we've been seeing with Joey and winning some football games late in November. So we are usually at every home game as well, too. So Zyler and Conrad were in attendance this weekend. Boys, what are the sights and sounds from the Jones that you guys saw? Anything fun in particular happen? I know there was DJ Diesel and Raider Alley for the pregame. What were the vibes like around Lubbock this Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, I got there early with my 2 daughters and got to watch the Raider Walk, and this is where I actually got the most information for the game. Seeing the players in person just gives you an idea of who's locked in and who's not. I could tell the boys were locked in. They weren't making eye contact with me. Nobody wanted to give me high fives. They were focused on the mission at hand, so I was proud of them. Also, shout out to Eddie Smith, the true freshman. He looks monstrous. He should be the first player off the bus for us. The freshman defensive end looked like he should be starting based on how he looked in a sweatshirt and sweatpants. So that was my report from there. I thought the stadium was fine. Crowd was a little lackluster to start and definitely waned on the east side as the game progressed. The atmosphere is still good, though. I like the south end zone. It looks great. Was in different seats this time, so sat with my friend Hunter. So thankful that I was able to get some tickets. And yeah, it was an okay environment. Not the best one that we've had, but okay for a 2:30 kickoff in September.
Yeah, it was a fun game. I think I had never seen the south end zone in person before, and that just transforms the stadium. Looks so cool. It makes it feel like it's finished out. I never thought that south end zone really felt like it was. I just felt like it was tacked on instead of being a part of the stadium and really synthesizing it all together. So that was really cool to see in person. I took my daughter as well to her first game. She is 4 months old, and she made it till 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So, if that's her average stay time for the rest of her life, we'll be doing good. But it was fun. We had a great time. I will say I think it was interesting being back in the stadium first time since last September, just since that Oregon game, seeing everything. The crowd did wane on the east side, but I don't think that's really indicative of your team or anything like that. I think it was the fact that the sun was just blaring down on that east side, which caused people to maybe leave early. But the atmosphere was still good. It was still something to behold. It was still something that lended a loss to Arizona State, your opponent. So it was fun. It was a great time. And I do have some pictures of the nachos that I can share now or I can share later. Brennan, what do you want me to do there?
Go ahead and share the nachos now, man.
You want me to share them? Okay.
Yeah,
Because
it's
I did get some blowback from several OU people that saw my nachos that I took pictures of and ranted on last week. And so I want to just show you guys what real nachos looks like. So when I was talking about nachos last week and the experience of eating a nacho at a football game, basketball game, baseball game, whatever, this, my friends, is what I was talking about. We don't want anything else. We want chips. They were not stale. We want cheese, and that's it. Plain simple. Texas Tech does it right. They were fantastic. So just so you know, this is what a nacho is supposed to look like. If it doesn't look like that, it doesn't meet Red Raider standards. So just so you know, that's what a nacho actually is for the people in Norman, Oklahoma, who did be pretty bad last Saturday.
well done. And again, if you couldn't see, if you're not watching us, you're sorely missing out on some great quality pictures of chips and hot cheese here. But man, well, that's awesome. And yeah, I'm glad y'all had fun, and good for you fellas indoctrinating your daughters early into the red and black. I think the Red Raiders, more than ever right now, we have to get kids invested young and let them know that we are the best Texas university in the Big 12, and we'll soon be the best Texas university in the nation. So,
Brennan, have your sons and daughters been indoctrinated?
Yeah, I don't have any yet, man. But I get that Kool-Aid Conrad must be getting to me. The fact that I'm talking about being better than the number one team in the country, I don't know. But one day, one can dream. So, all right, well, let's get to the game, guys. Clayton, what were your initial thoughts? Start with the offense specifically. What you saw. I know you had a wedding this weekend, so I don't know if you were actually able to catch all of it or not. But what do you think, and how do you feel about the team moving forward?
Yeah, I did miss the last part of the third quarter and then all the fourth quarter. But my key to the game in our last episode was getting up to a 2-score lead, which we did pretty much immediately, which was nice to see. I thought our offense looked pretty bad after the first 2 drives of the first half, but it was nice to see in the second half, I think it was our first drive, kind of regrouped, had another nice drive, and we didn't need a lot from the offense, honestly, because the defense played pretty well. So I guess it was good to see us follow through. I wish we could sustain some more offensive success throughout the game, but if you can get up to a quick lead right away, that'll definitely help your chance to win.
Yeah. Clayton, if you're thinking about your confidence level for the offense moving forward after that game, do you feel like they'll get it figured out, or are you more nervous moving forward towards the rest of the season?
I mean, I feel pretty good about it, especially after Washington State. I think having Taj back in the fold is huge. So if we can keep him healthy, I definitely still have concerns about the offensive line. I don't know if those will go away. But I feel like Barron's playing pretty well. I like our receivers. I obviously like our running backs. I think you can definitely average upwards of 30 points a game in Big 12 play, which should be enough to win a good amount of ball games.
Yeah, for sure. Z?
Yeah, talking about the offense, I thought when Arizona State came out, and if you watch it back, they were loading the box. They had 6 to 7 guys. They were essentially daring Barron to beat them, and that's what he did on those first 2 drives. So shout out to Barron. He did those things. It was great, and we clearly capitalized on that. And I, shout out to Kidley for being able to scheme that and taking advantage of that. After that, it was definitely lighter boxes. It was 6-man boxes, sometimes even 5, and you struggled to run on that. And then obviously the passing game gets a lot tougher when you do that. I think Barron still has some processing issues. He, as the season has gone on, my confidence in Kitley is increasing and my confidence in Barron is probably decreasing a little bit. I just don't know, where he sits. Where is his ceiling as far as being able to command an offense? I do appreciate that Barron's been pretty turnover free in 3 of the 4 games. His mess ups are now incompletions instead of, pick sixes and interceptions. So maybe knock on wood there, but he has been better in that regard. So I don't want to knock him too much, but I thought the plays were there for your offense in the second half and in the second quarter. He was just missing some guys. And that happens. He was getting rushed, definitely. Our offensive line struggled to pick up some of those blitzes that they were throwing. They were twisting, they were stunting, they were blitzing from a lot of weird angles. And I don't know whether that's an offensive protection issue, if that's Barron not calling out the blitzes, if that's, calling out the blitzes and it not getting picked up. Not entirely sure, but we did struggle with that a bit, and I thought that hurt Barron. I thought your running backs looked great. Dickey probably had the play of the game on that 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 8 where he spun out of that tackle for loss and got a first down, and you were able to melt another 2 to 3 minutes off the clock, which basically won you the game. So I think some positives, definitely some negatives, but good to see your offense work against probably the best defense you've played all year. So overall positive, but definitely some things to work on.
Yep, for sure. Conrad, thoughts on that?
We started strong. Was proud of scoring 30 points, was proud of the receivers. I thought Josh Kelly looked fantastic. I texted you guys during the game. I don't know if I'm way off on this, but I feel like he could he be a top 2 to 3 round, like a 2nd or 3rd round pick in the next year's draft? I mean, that guy just looks like he's doing whatever he wants out there. He's getting so many catches. He's making guys miss. I don't know. Maybe he's a lower round pick than that, but he's going to be a steal in my opinion. So, was optimistic about the receivers, the running backs. The biggest concern for me, to kind of go in a different direction, was the offensive line. It just did not. It felt like Barron. Sure, he was missing on some routes, on some throws, but if you look back at a lot of those throws, they weren't technically passes that he had a clean pocket with. I mean, the guys were in his face almost immediately. He was missing, and so in that sense, I don't really blame Barron for those incompletions as much as I do the offensive line, because when you got guys back there almost immediately and you're missing blocks and you're whiffing on guys, there were a couple times around the edge the guys just got through seemingly almost immediately. So that was concerning to me. But I think the offense as a whole, if you can just do that, you don't have to be perfect to win games in the Big 12. You do not. Most of the schools that we're going to play are definitely going to have their struggles too. So if you can just if you could replicate 30 to 35, 40 points every week, maybe 28 and up, if you could give me that right now in every game, I'd take that. So I think they did really well. I thought they executed well to win the game at the end. So the offense is good. I just am really concerned, as we all are, about the offensive line still. And I don't think that's going to change throughout the entire season.
Yeah, there were definitely a couple plays where Barron had what felt like 0.5 seconds to throw the ball. Like guys running off the edge, immediate ball just him getting hit, having to drop back. And Z, to your point, fortunately, none of that led to a turnover, and I think that is good. Barron on the year now has 12 touchdown passes to 2 interceptions through 4 games. I think he's 4th in the country in touchdown passes. So but I also agree it doesn't look great all the time. I mean, he was 24 of 44 for 200 yards with a 52 QBR, which QBR in college isn't really the same thing as what it would be in the NFL, but that's still pretty poor, and yards per attempt were significantly low. And so there is some concern there, I think, overall. And we keep talking about this. Can Barron be the guy to go win you a football game? He hasn't necessarily shown that yet. He's done enough to help you be 3-1 and play good in key moments, but he hasn't just been making consistent throws throughout 4 quarters where you're like, if the game's on the line, I trust this guy to go get us a touchdown. I don't know if he's there yet, but he does make great throws. I think, Clayton, you might have texted this, that he might be the best slant thrower in college football. I mean, he throws some absolute piss missiles, when on those 12, 15-yard RPO slants. It's crazy how quickly that ball is coming out. So he does look good a good majority of the time, and as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, he'll keep us in enough games, I think. But I don't know if he'll go and win us a lot of games either. on
I
his
think
own.
that's a really good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think he's elevating your receiver talent a ton. Like, I think Josh Kelly is good because he gets touches when he's open. Like, I don't feel like he's making receivers look way better than they are. I think your receivers are as good as they are, and they don't look any better than they should be, which I don't know if that's like a bad thing to say, but I don't know that he's necessarily elevating a ton of your receiving core.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think Patrick Mahomes did that last year. He elevated this receiving core, and Tom Brady did that through his entire career. I'll defend Barron a little bit because I'm sure mentally he will never say this publicly. He'll think it and probably say it to maybe one or two people, but that dude has to know that this offensive line is just they're not good. Like, they're just not good. I don't know how else to say it. They're just not good. And he has to know that, and so that has to not mess with him mentally, but he's aware of that. And so he probably is almost having a quicker internal clock when he's back there throwing, and rightfully so. And so it's difficult. We don't have these stats. I don't know if anyone would, but just to be able to take out those free rusher ones where you just seemingly have more of those than maybe any. I saw more free rushers on Saturday than I saw in the Baylor game, and in Colorado's offensive line is terrible. So it just seems like he is trying to make do with what he has. And is he going to go win you a game in the fourth quarter? We have to wait and see. But he can't block. He's not blocking. So if he's going to be and have a minute 30 left, 2 timeouts, and need to go get you a touchdown to win, and they know you have to throw the ball, if I'm Cincinnati, if I'm Baylor, if I'm TCU, I'm rushing him, and I don't know that he would be able to do that because the offensive line is so poor. So not to make it that where he's off the hook for everything, but I think that does play a large factor in kind of what we're saying about Barron at this point in the season as well.
And I think you see a little bit of that with the scheme, like so many quick hitters that we have where it's like, listen, we're getting that ball out in a second and a half. There's no way that you can get to him. I think that's why you see some of the screen game, why you see some of that slant stuff to, one, build his confidence, but then 2, take some pressure off of your offensive line. I am glad that they moved to Merriman over at the left tackle spot. I think he's done a better job than Porcher. I haven't seen the game grades for this week come out, but I thought he was better in pass protection than Porcher was. And that those were P5 defensive ends that were coming at him, and I thought he was okay. I actually feel a little bit better about the offensive line. I was worried that we were going to go into this game and like give up 10 sacks or something ridiculous and realize like, oh, you have a horrific line. I think you have a pretty average to below average line, but I feel a lot better about the floor. I think both the floor is a little bit higher than I thought, but the ceiling's also a lot lower. I think you just kind of know what it is now. It's not going to be great, but I don't think it's the worst line we've had here at Tech, which is not a high bar, but still.
No, and that's not what I was saying. That, just to clarify, I think it's probably below. It's not the worst. I don't even know if it's the worst in the Big 12, honestly. It's definitely not the worst in the Big 12, but I do think that it is below average or to average at best, and so I think that's just going to cause problems for the passing game and even the rushing game being stuffed in the backfield as much as we were yesterday throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah. And Clayton, go ahead.
I was about to say, we touched on this a while ago, but I feel like this is definitely not a Taj problem. It's an offensive line problem, but Taj's style of running where he's like super patient does not go well with our offensive linemen getting blown up immediately on every play.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like Cam Dickey, like how he just gets the ball and like immediately hits the hole. Its style of running fits our offense a little bit better with our lack of offensive line and run blocking.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, you look at Taj, he had 27 carries for 117 yards. And in total, including Dickey, we averaged 3.8 yards per rush, which not great, not horrible, but it's not like Taj is, getting 4.5, 5 yards a carry like we felt like we saw a good majority of last year. He's gone over 100 yards in every game he's played, but he's had a couple big runs that he breaks out for on some of those zone reads. Then it's like a lot of little runs, and so I don't know if he's been as productive this year when you're actually watching as it might seem like stats are showing because of the offensive line, to your point, Clayton.
Yeah,
so in that game, so you had stuffed runs. So stuffed run is yards gained less than 0, and then stopped runs is yards gained less than 2. 48% of your runs went for 2 yards or less, which is horrific. That's just not something you really want to see. And our O-line yards, so that's like how many yards would you get before you really get touched? It's 1.75 per carry, which is not very good. So basically, you're pretty much going to get 1.5 yards. Everything else you're going to have to do as a running back. So that's a tough situation to be running in.
See, here's what's great about this podcast. You get me, and I say like the kindergarten version of what Zyler just expanded into like this like Einstein-esque football analytical. You get the best of both here. You get to learn like what I dumbed down, and then Zyler comes in and is able to say, expand that into the analytical side. It's great. You don't get that anywhere else, I don't think.
No, your eye test is right though. Like we're getting stuffed at the line consistently, frequently, and everywhere.
That made me feel better about what I feel like I'm watching. So
yeah,
thank you.
Thank you, ball.
C. Yeah, hey, that's why we're here, man. We know ball.
The stats verify your experience.
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah, a couple of the thoughts I had. I thought the defense played fairly well too. Chapman Lewis made some great plays. You know, you texted us during the game, like Chapman with some eyes, and felt like he's showing a lot of promise. You were 5 of 13 on third down, 0 and 3 on fourth down. You also held them to under 100 yards rushing. So Scattaboo, who we talked about a lot, was outside of, in terms of rushing, was pretty much a non-factor. He had 117 receiving yards, but you really did a great job there, and you held them under 300 yards passing. And so anytime you hold a team under 300 yards passing and 100 yards rushing, you're probably going to either win the game or be close in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And so the defense from where we saw them against ACU has really been great. I feel like we're coming off 3 straight games now where we're sitting there saying the defense looked fine. Even Washington State, yes, drink to that, Conrad. Drink the Kool-Aid to that, as Conrad consistently is.
Hey, this is to Tim DeRuyter, baby. Tim DeRuyter.
Tim DeRuyter, yeah. Kool-Aid shots are happening here on the Broadway Shuffle. And so some Sun Devil sangria. So, yeah, it's been great, man, to watch that. And I think that is a credit to DeRuyter and his experience and ability to kind of get on film, see where you can minimize the risk. And the defense has been doing that, and we haven't seen a ton of big plays either, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, Clay, any thoughts on that specifically?
Yeah, Clayton, take it away.
Yeah, no, I feel a lot better about the defense than I thought I was going to after seeing them against ACU. I don't think we have like a top 5 defense in the Big 12, but I think we have a good enough defense to win almost every game on our schedule, especially seeing some of the other teams play that we have the rest of the year. Like, there's not any team that I'm like, wow, well, maybe Colorado, I guess. But other than that, in terms of their offense, I'm just like, wow, they're going to light up our defense.
Clayton, do you think we would beat Kansas with our defense?
Absolutely. Next question.
Z, what were you going to say?
Yeah, a couple thoughts on the defense. One, I mean, you're playing this defense with a bunch of redshirt freshmen and redshirt sophomores. So you're playing with babies out there. These guys are going to get better as the year goes on. And we said that at the beginning, like maybe you're starting to see that. This is the best opponent that I played, and I thought it was the best defensive performance they'd given. Most of these guys should be back next year. You're building a unit on that side. They're still going to take some lumps. I mean, you still see the coverage busts. There were, how different do we feel about this unit if some of those deep balls were caught? The wind, I think, really affected Sam or Levitt in the pocket, and he had 2 guys on back-to-back plays that you felt like those should have been touchdowns. You probably feel worse if those are connected. But yeah, they're definitely improving. Chapman looks great. He's going to be a great player for you maybe this year, but he's making stops. He's reading the field well. He's still messing up. He's still just a second-year player, but I thought they looked good. I don't think your edge rush or your pass rush doesn't look very good to me. Maybe that was just where I was watching the game. I know you only got 1 sack, but that was more than I thought you'd get. So I guess I was wrong there. But I'm still a little worried about that. The rumors are that Charles Ester's maybe back this week, so that would help. You got Harvey Dyson back, so now you'd only be down 2 guys. But I did think they were opportunistic. The 4th down stops were great. They solved a lot of the problems that you had in previous losses or previous bad games, like getting diced up over the middle of the field. I felt like we stopped some of that. I mean, they did get some of that in the, kind of the prevent defense, which I don't really count. And then the QB run game. Sam Levitt's a better runner than John Mateer, and you held him to less than 30 yards. I would have taken that every day of the week. So I thought the game plan was really good from the defense. They had their issues, but man, really, really, really impressed with that unit this week.
Yeah, I think not to harp on anything Zyler said as well, but really impressed with what they did as a whole. You give me that defensive performance every week for the rest of the year, maybe even up to 28 points in some games. I'll sign off on that today. I mean, you're gonna win games if that's how you play defense. Obviously not perfect, but played well enough to win. There were some misreads, mishaps. I think the biggest maybe angry moment of the game for me was on that long run down the right side where Jacob Rodriguez, I think it was Scadaboo, but maybe it wasn't Scadaboo. I can't remember who it was, but he was running down the right sideline, and it looked like Jacob Rodriguez just pulled off, and he ended up getting like 20 more yards after the run. I don't remember exactly. I think it was the second quarter. Could be wrong. Y'all correct me on that. Wasn't thrilled with that effort, especially from a guy like that. But that was pretty much the lone. Not that there weren't others, but the lone bad spot for me. The other thing that I wanted to mention was the 3 pass interferences you had on one drive. The 4th down pass interference, I wasn't mad at it. It was, he had you beat, and if he didn't do that, he didn't turn his head, so that is pass interference. The other 2 though, I'm just not buying those other 2. I thought Big 12 refs struck right there. Those 2 were not PIs in my opinion, and that's not a biased opinion. That's an unbiased opinion. So wasn't really thrilled about those 2. But if you take those away too, I'm not sure what your penalty yards were total, but if you subtract those as well, you played a pretty clean game overall on defense from the penalty perspective if you take those away. So I thought that was good to note as well.
Yeah, and those penalties are you're playing hard, tight coverage, different things. You see the 9 penalties for 94 yards, and some of them were very frustrating. But I thought when you're playing physical and the defense is staying aggressive and those flags come out and you allow for some debatable calls to be had, that's better than 10 false starts and holding penalties and illegal formations and different things. So some of that's still self-inflicted that we do need to improve on, and hopefully those Big 12 refs that are, or maybe not Big 12 refs, that'd be fun if they were in our practice each week too. That means we'd probably be paying them off. But if the refs that we have each week are helping out the team, we'll continue to get a little better there too. But still would like to see that cleaned up some.
On that 3rd pass interference on that one drive, I thought that was an absolutely terrible call. Well, I didn't even think it was pass interference, and the ball was thrown virtually out of bounds. I can't believe
I thought it was uncatchable.
Yeah.
And so that's 15 yards that you really shouldn't have had.
Plus
there
another
either.
15, plus the other 15 right before that. So
all on one drive.
Which you ended up stopping them that drive. I don't think they scored. I think that was the one you got them 4th and 1, right?
Yeah,
which is crazy.
So it didn't matter, but still, it's annoying to see that on the stat sheet because you shouldn't have had it there. It should have been 7 penalties, but instead it's 9. But it's still not. It's not 10, so it could have been worse.
There we go.
I thought you were better in the second half. I don't remember as many. I think there was really a lot in that first half.
Yeah, I think so too. It seemed like they made some good adjustments, at least on the defensive side of the ball coming out of half. The offense, to Clayton's point, looked very average coming out. And I think, Conrad, you were texting us, we look flat. I felt like I've read that 10 times in the hour and a half that we watched that second half. And that's something that needs to be addressed as well. So, and hopefully we won't have that happen and that big a lull happen against Cincinnati on Saturday night.
They didn't have any Sun Devil Sangria. That's why they came out flat.
We talked about if we could hold Scadaboo. I know he had a decent game, but it was really on one big play. I mean, you held him to 3.3 a carry. I think Clayton and I think we all talked about this. Like, if you held him under 4 a carry, I felt pretty good about winning the game, and they did that. I thought the game plan was make Levitt beat you, and you asked him to do that. And outside of that, the 2 prevent drives where he got to throw for 100 yards, basically, you held him to 280 or 182 yards. And then if you take out Scadaboo's 74-yard reception, you held him to basically less than 100 yards. So I'll take that. I thought the game plan worked out really nicely, and I thought the team did a good job.
Yeah. And I know most of it came on one catch, but if an opposing team's running back is going to have over 100 yards receiving, I don't think they're winning. Like, that does not seem like the game plan that you would want to have as a football team.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and let me mention this too. I don't know if this bothers you guys. It may not bother me. It shouldn't bother me this much, but our kicking rotation, guys. What are we doing there? Like, why are we doing that? They're making them, so I guess it's fine, but it just feels very herky jerky, and I don't know. I've just never seen that before, and I don't like things I've never. In terms of just traditional football, I don't like things I haven't seen before. Like, I don't think anyone in the history of football has ever done rotated kickers. If a listener out there knows that there has been someone, let me know, because I'm just not a fan because I've never seen it, and so it just makes me a little worrisome for what might come down the road. But I don't know what y'all's thoughts are on that. I know they both Gino and what's the other guy's name? Reese. They both made their attempts. So I'm fine with that, but I would love to hear what you guys think about that at this point, even going into Big 12 play.
I'm going to start a dialogue about how we have two of the best kickers in the country, and that's why we have to rotate them.
Kicker you, baby.
Kicker you. Yeah, Conrad, I agree. Like, when you're watching in pressure situations, you're like, is this guy thinking, man, if I miss this, I lose my turn or I lose my job? And you can see some psychological warfare going on there a little bit too. But they've been ice, man. They've got onions. Those guys are going out there and just drilling field goals. And it's hard to not be like, all right. I mean, I trust both of them based off what I've seen. It does feel a little herky jerky to your point, but as long as they keep making them, I don't care. I think Gino, it is weird because he, outside of the Wyoming game last year, was one of the best kickers in the conference. So to have a guy come in and pretty much split reps with him is pretty odd, because unless he had a horrible camp, but if he did, he's proven that he's fine so far this year. So I don't know if we're looking too much into that or not, but it does at least look a little odd when you're seeing him trot out. Even the announcers on the game were like, oh no, that's Reese Burkhardt. They don't, they're like they're playing kicker roulette. You try to figure out who's out there actually kicking the field goal. So I don't know. Clayton, does it bother you too much or no?
I don't really care, but I am really surprised that we're still swapping. I kind of thought that would be a non-conference thing, and then by the fourth game, you pick one.
Yeah.
I mean, do y'all think this is going to go for the entire season?
That's what it looks like.
I think it goes till somebody misses. I really do.
That's crazy.
They're playing knockout, dude. That's what they're playing.
If coach asks you to trot out there for the 54-yarder, I think I would kind of tweak my ankle and let the other.
Yeah.
It's kind of
guy deserves another kick.
Reese is like, oh man, my hammy really cramped up there, coach. You might want to send out Gino.
Well, not that you're playing the Gino can knock the long ones in. Not that we're playing the we don't want our kicker to transfer, because I don't think we're ever going to be in that position. But do you think it's because they just don't want one of them to transfer, or I just it's so weird, because I feel like you would normally, normal people, pick a kicker, that's why I don't know what you're really doing. I mean, it's fine as they're making it, but it just feels so off.
No, yeah, I agree. But as long as they keep making, we keep winning, I don't care. Yeah, that's the verdict.
Who would you pick?
Gino.
Yeah, I would stick with Gino. But
Yeah,
apparently
more
he did have a bad camp.
Yeah.
That's why it was even a conversation in the first place.
Gino,
Well-
if you'd like to tell us why we're doing this, you can come on the pod, man.
Yeah, well,
But
Go reach out to Gino.
only if you like and subscribe, Gino. That's the only way we'll get you on the pod. You can like and subscribe.
and comment below, Gino. Comment some Reese Burkhardt hate below. Start crapping on Reese below. Well, it's time for where we were right and where we were wrong predictions. This is a new segment we're going to do each Monday episode. So not only to keep us accountable, but for y'all, our loyal listeners, to keep us accountable as well, which they do. And I'll get into that here in a second. But Clayton, your prediction, congratulations. You won this week, 31-27 Texas Tech. You were the closest. You were right pretty much to a T, man. 30, we scored 30. You predicted 31. So great job there. Conrad, 41-28 Texas Tech. Not too bad as well. I was 44-31. Yeah, a little too much on the offensive side of the ball. Hey, I drank it too. I was 44-31, but it gives me great pleasure, Zyler Buchanan, to let you know that you were dead wrong, my guy. And you had Arizona State winning 41-38. You were not chugging the Sun Devil Sangria like Conrad was. So Zyler finishes last this week. But we all finished last apparently as well, because someone called us out, which we love, commenting on YouTube. And feel free to comment on YouTube and like and subscribe whenever you want to our channel. But apparently we missed a sack somewhere along this season. And so the sack against Abilene Christian on the 2-point conversion was commented. And then I believe someone said we did get one sack against Washington State. I don't remember where, but they're probably more right than we are. So
I must have rage quit and like missed that one. And I also think they recorded the ACU one as like a rush. I think they recorded it as a TFL instead of a sack.
That's what.
Yeah,
that's
we
what,
were wrong. We were wrong.
Yeah. No matter what, our viewers and listeners are always right, and we're wrong.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's why you should follow us wherever you get your podcast. And so that's where we were right and where we were wrong. And we'll add a couple when we do our game predictions as well for the Big 12. We'll add those in for next week too. But something we wanted to introduce to you guys here for this episode. So, all right, news and notes from around the Big 12. We had some pretty epic games on Saturday, man. Colorado Hail Mary ended the game against Baylor at home, and then found a way to pull it off. There. Oh, Conrad's giving a little sad face. Poor Baylor Bears, right, Conrad?
So
And,
sad for the Bears.
so sad.
The Buffalo beat the Bear up.
And I can't look at you when you do that. And then Utah beats Oklahoma State on the road, 22-19. Our fellow brethren, Alan Bowman, got benched. I think is eight for
so bad.
8 for 22.
Didn't he come
for
back
8.
in?
He did, and he threw 2 touchdowns. But that's besides the point.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
None of that's important. The important
Mike
part
Gundy
is
put him in the corner.
yeah, he was 8 of 22 for 89 yards and a pick when he got taken out of the game, I believe. So we love to hear that. Utah, Isaac Wilson goes in on the road, beats Oklahoma State. K-State gets rocked by the fellow Mormons of Utah as well, 38-9 against BYU. BYU is now ranked and 4-0, which if anyone predicted that before the season, you should run straight to your local better because you knew something that none of us did. And then TCU gets blown out in Dallas, Conrad's other hate team. They get 66-42 against SMU, which I know, Clayton, this one you were like hoping TCU would actually win. Your disdain for SMU runs deep here on the show. But boys, what were y'all's reactions to these 4 games? And are any of you surprised by any of these outcomes?
Dude, the SMU result was kind of shocking to me. That was the most surprising. I mean, they got killed. I know we talked about this. They had the fumble return, they had the pick six, and they had the punt touchdown, which, I mean, those are all kind of fluky plays, but still, I mean, to get beat like that. And then on top of that, you're canceling the series with them, and that's how they beat you at their place. I cannot. And then your coach gets ejected from the game. Like that it could not have gone worse. The TCU fans that I know were raging online afterwards. It was quite the spectacle. They were not thrilled with that. And I think Dykes, unless, I don't think he'll get fired this year unless they have, like a 2-11, I don't know, like a 2-10 season. But they are very displeased with Mr. Dykes down there in Fort Worth right now.
Dykes is on that Ed Orgeron speed running the firing after you make it to a national championship hat.
It makes so much more sense why he donated money to the university this offseason.
Exactly.
He was clearly buying himself some favor. I think Conrad called that early on.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that game was most surprising to me because just like Clayton, I don't particularly care for SMU, and I don't think any of us thought SMU was very good. So that just leads me to believe that TCU is just terrible. I don't know. Maybe they don't look like they're that bad on certain sides of the ball, but I guess they just cannot put it together. And so that was interesting to me. But seeing TCU lose, especially like that against the school they consider their little brother over in Dallas, that will always bring joy to my heart. So that was interesting. I did think the Baylor game too, as well. The Baylor Colorado was fantastic. I went to sleep. I didn't see the end of that game, and then the next morning I woke up and saw the way it ended, and I saw that the Hail Mary from Shadur, and I was just like, dude, that guy, like I'm excited to see him on November 9th in Lubbock because that dude is unbelievable. And the reaction that he had, if y'all saw that clip of his reaction, he didn't have a reaction. He just got right back up and walked over the sideline. Everybody's coming up, going crazy, and he's just like, yeah, that's kind of what I do. And I was just like, whoa, dude, that guy, he's something different.
Well, dude, I was watching the game, and I was feeding the kiddos, so I was up late, and Baylor had a chance to win this game. They tried to kick a 40-yard field goal with like 2.5 minutes left to go up 10, and I mean missed it by probably 50 feet. Dude, just absolutely airmails it. So Colorado has 2 minutes, and they do one of the worst 2-minute drives you have ever seen. It's like sack, incompletion, then like defensive pass interference, sack. Like it was terrible. And then with 40 seconds left, they throw a ball that gets improperly spotted. They think it's a first down, so they think the clock is stopping, but that doesn't happen. And they burn like 20 seconds, so now they have 18. And then they dropped the Hail Mary that should have scored the touchdown originally. They had it hit a guy in the helmet, in the end zone, all by himself. And
Yeah, the
then they
first
do all
one
that.
was a way easier catch.
Oh my God. I mean, that's a catch you make 9 times out of 10. And then to lose it by fumbling out of the back of the end zone was hilarious. I mean, it's just a comedy of errors. And did you hear Aranda today? He called that defensive formation that they used, he called it Victory Cigar. You couldn't torture me and get that information out of me as a head coach. I would never tell anybody that.
Why did they rush 5?
They rushed, and they rushed 4, but the outside contain decided to stunt inside, so then Shadur went outside and threw it. It was you could not have done anything worse.
They were playing press coverage too. And the safety, like we talked about, was like in the back, like near the
end zone.
Hands. Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
It's amazing watching like college football because these are kids and they do some dumb stuff, and then it's all for our pleasure, which is great. It's like you just can't believe some of these endings, and we get to sit there and enjoy them. There's honestly nothing better.
I would like to throw this out to our Baylor listeners, of which I know there are many. If you need a kicker, you can send your trade request to our player personnel department. We will take no less than $1 million. I do hear you pay players now. Obviously, you don't pay the right ones because you're not very good. But if you would like to try and pay a kicker, you can reach out to us, and we'd gladly give you one for $1 million or more.
I'll take Steve Linton.
Yeah, I'd take him back right now, honestly.
I would take him back.
Yeah, we could use him this year.
Yeah.
That game, man, in Colorado, I'm honestly rooting for Colorado throughout the year up until November 9th because I want that game in the Jones to be worth some sort of value for us at all, whether it's Colorado is surprisingly good or we're surprisingly good. And I think it'd be fun to see that game mean something. So I was happy to see them get the win. And then Utah, man, I think they're pretty much punching their ticket to the Big 12 championship in Arlington. That's an impressive road win. You back up quarterback and you still go in and you make Oklahoma State look awful. And you have Alan Bowman get benched, which is awesome. So, man, yeah, that game, I mean, it's a typical Utah game. What was it, like 10-3 halfway through the third quarter? And they're just like bullying you and not letting you get anything you want. Oklahoma State just too little too late on the offensive side of the ball, and Utah scrapes out a win. And that's what they typically do. So I wanted to get into the K-State BYU game a little bit, though. That one, I think that surprised a lot of people. We know last year we went into BYU and looked horrible on the road. That's a tough place to play. Great home crowd. They stay the whole time. They drink their sparkling water. I think they're allowed to drink that. I'm not sure.
They have their cougar tails.
Their cougar tails. Yeah, whatever they can drink in that stadium. And
no, that's a donut.
Is it really a cougar tail?
It's a donut with maple on top of it and then bacon pieces. I remember
Conrad is
hearing
a
about it last
concession
year.
stand aficionado. He knows everything about
Hey,
every concession
hey,
stand in the Big
yeah,
12.
I'm just a concession stand evaluator. No, I
It's
remember someone talking about it before we went up there last year.
wow, a
So,
donut with
yeah.
bacon.
Yeah, it's like apparently it's good. So
We'll have to go
Did
get some
y'all
cougar tails.
did
Go on.
anyone watch that game? Or like at least just the end of the second quarter and beginning of the third. That's really all you needed to see.
I saw the punt return.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw the return.
Clayton texted and he's like, dude, I don't know if Avery Johnson is very good at quarterbacking. And then like the next couple drives, it was like fumble, interception, punt return, touchdown, interception. It was a perfect call from Clayton. So yeah, rough outing for Avery Johnson.
Yeah, I don't like seeing Avery Johnson suck because like he looked so good against us. I'm like, I want him to be able to do that to other teams so we don't look as bad, but it might be looking like we just real screwed that game. Well, he has not looked great this year so far. So
let me say this, guys. I was not surprised at that game in the slightest because we do know who their offensive coordinator is, right? We remember him,
That's true.
right? Matt Wells couldn't coach at
The
Tech,
beloved.
can't coach at K-State. Why are we surprised that their offense is terrible? I mean, he's just, if he doesn't have Jordan Love, he's not a very good coach. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it is such a testament to, especially looking at Big 12 teams that are not signing like top 25 classes every single year. When you lose program guys that have started for 3 years, you just like don't just like replace those and immediately be as good. Like they lost so many offensive linemen, they lost a lot of guys in the defensive backfield. Like that, teams just have to develop, and we'll be in that same cycle too. It is something that I need to remember moving forward, is that generational players for your program don't just get replaced easily like they do at places like Alabama and Georgia, places where they're signing 5 stars consistently. I think K-State is learning that lesson the hard way this year.
yeah,
There's also a lot of teams that are finding out how important their offensive coordinator is. Like Kansas State was inclined. Kansas, I forget what his name was.
Total
but
Nicky.
yeah.
Yep.
And I feel like fans just think like you can just replace them easily, and then you see it's not that easy.
Clayton, we talked about this when we talked about Arizona. When their offensive coordinator said, we're just going to come in and kind of run the same stuff we did last year. Let's not break what was. It's like you don't just do that. Like it's like, okay, yeah, we'll just call the touchdown plays. It's like that's not how scheming up an offense works. And that was the biggest red flag for me on their program, was when we saw that.
well, and I hope
they're
that
still learning to play football, guys. Like in Kansas, they know how to play basketball. They don't know how to play football yet.
Well, Kansas State has shown us how to play football the last 9 years. I don't think we've beaten them since 2015. So
No, I was talking about Kansas, like the Jayhawks.
okay, yeah, they might still be learning. Yeah, but well, yeah, it's going to be interesting. A look ahead to next week quickly on that. Oklahoma State and Kansas State do play at 11 a.m. and so one of those two teams will be 0-2 in the Big 12 come Saturday afternoon, and they were 2 of the top 4 or 5 favorites in the conference. So that's going to be a huge blow to whoever loses that game and significantly diminish the chances of them playing in the Big 12 championship. And that's good for you. I mean, Tech, I know it sounds crazy, and I'm not trying to continue to hype up all of us and make us believe that we are. Yes, Conrad, pull out the Kool-Aid, my guy. But the more that these teams lose to each other, and 2 losses becomes a thing, it kind of expands your room for error a little bit, I think, in the conference, if that makes sense. And if you take care of business at home and steal a road win here or there, it's not unforeseen that something could happen. And you could accomplish some fairly lofty goals this year.
Agreed. I think if you can go 2-2 in the road games, like late in the year, I think we will be in the race to make the conference title game. That's obviously a big if. Because
2-2 would be crazy.
Games. Yeah, but if you could somehow do that, like I think we'll be in the running for a spot in the game.
Yeah, if you beat Arizona in Tucson, I think you'll have a real shot at going 2-2. Yeah, on the road.
Yeah, that game seems, not to overlook Cincinnati, but that seems to be your marker for the season. Can you get over the road woes and if you do beat Cincinnati next Saturday, you're talking about if you do accomplish the Arizona road win, you're now 3-0 in conference and 5-1. You know, that's a hello, we're here type win. And that would be very impressive. So we'll see what happens. Conrad, what would that Kool-Aid shot do for you? Anything?
Dude, I mean, I'm just very pleased overall looking now at the state of our program versus where we were after week 1. I mean, I remember sitting here to you guys being so anxious of are we going to win another game, and now we're trending in the right. I mean, obviously Washington State happened, but you see us trending in the right direction, doing what we did against North Texas, which is what we would have thought you would have done before the year, going out and beating Arizona State, not playing a perfect game, but you did win. You should beat a Cincinnati team that's worse than Arizona State. I mean, we're moving in the right direction, and I just think we get ahead of ourselves with all the time we have in the offseason to cook up all the Kool-Aid to think we're going to be this. It's like, no. We need to maybe hold off a little bit because these things take time. Like Zyler mentioned earlier, our defense is so young. Our offensive line is average to below average. We just need to let ourselves keep progressing because I think as these players get more comfortable playing together over the course of the year, you're going to see improvement. Hopefully, ideally, you're going to see coaching get better, which it already has on both sides of the ball, I think. And so you're just going to see it moving in a direction that will be good for the trajectory of your program this year, next year, but specifically this year because it's all right there in front of you. Just want to know every week. Want to know every week. Want to know every day. And you never know what can happen if you just focus on yourself, do what you know you can do, and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah. One other note that I'll have, just from an analytics perspective, if you're looking at some of the SP Plus and game on paper things, I think that EPA stat is kind of skewed with the way you ran your drives from the fourth quarter on. You were positive EPA up until, maybe the last 10 to 12 plays you ran, and it really tanked when you were just trying to eat up yards and eat up clock. And then conversely, they got a lot of really positive EPA plays on those prevent drives where all you're trying to do is prevent a quick score. I think the analytics maybe skewed a little bit further in Arizona State's favor on those last drives. I know the post-game win expectancy for Arizona State was like 62% or something like that, which I thought was a little bit, the stats are what the stats are, but I thought we shouldn't take too much stock into that, where I think that game was pretty much decided with about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So that's something that people may note that our analytics dropped a little bit this week, and I think that's a little bit false, or not necessarily a real drop. So,
yeah, Clayton, any final thoughts on that?
No, man, I didn't get to see the part of the game where Arizona State actually started moving the ball, but the part of the game that I watched, it was either us pretty easily scoring on them or no one, kind of like a stalemate. Like, I didn't see any point in the game where I thought Arizona State would deserve to be up or deserve to win that game in the part that I watched.
Yeah.
You were clearly the better team, I thought, throughout.
I thought so too.
Yeah, which is a great
homer ticks.
Yeah, which is a great sign. So, well, let's look ahead to next week really quickly. We've got the 7 a.m. game, 7 p.m. Maybe one day,
It's TV windows, man.
with the TV contracts, you just never know now with realignment. But 7 p.m. against Cincinnati at home next Saturday night in the Jones. I will be in attendance as well. Zyler, are you going to be there?
I will be there. I think Breck's going to try to make it. We're going to try to attend as a family, so should be there. Excited for it.
So there we go. So we'll have some sights and sounds from the Jones. Preview show will be released on Thursday. We'll be going over what we see coming up against Cincinnati and also be releasing our new Kool-Aid flavor for the week. Conrad will be sharing that on Thursday. And like I said, Oklahoma State, Kansas State will play one of those two. We'll drop to 0-2 in the conference, so make sure you check that game out on Saturday at 11 a.m. as well. And then also, please like and subscribe if you feel so led to our YouTube channel at the Broadway Shuffle podcast and on our Instagram, social medias, and wherever you get your podcast at the Broadway Shuffle. So, Zyler, we like to end our show with some tech trivia. What do you got for us tonight?
Yeah, this is going to be a real recent one. I thought about doing a who leads the Big 12 in passing touchdowns, but I think Brennan already gave that one away. It is Baron Morton with 12. If you watched the game, you know that there were a lot of penalties and there was a lot of stuff going on in the first quarter. How many non-penalty first downs did Arizona State achieve on offense in the first quarter?
I'm gonna say like 1.
I feel like this is
Two?
a trick question, so I'm gonna say 0. Like I feel like this is they wouldn't have.
I said 2.
Conrad. It was 0. They converted 0 first downs without the help of penalties in the first quarter. So, granted, we gave them 3 or 4 first downs with penalties, but and they may have converted them otherwise. But yeah, that was a good sign for your defense.
It sounded like a question that was like, this is probably 0, but I don't want to pick it because it seems like Z's tricking us. But I'm glad I got it right. Yeah.
I imagine the answer was 5, and it's like, yeah, it was 5.
You're like, yeah. They were just torching us in the first quarter. Yeah.
It wasn't very many. I knew that. Whatever. If it was anything.
Yeah. So that's the fact for the week.
Awesome, man. Well, you can check out Tech Trivia as well every episode at the end of the show. And I like to say that if you don't get this far, shame on you. If you do, tell your friends to at least fast forward to minute 55 because it's a lot of fun to learn. You learn something at the end of the episode, but we encourage you to listen to the whole thing and let your friends know too. So, well, Conrad, any final thoughts as we look ahead to Cincinnati?
Man, we're ready for Cincinnati. We're ready to go 4-1, hopefully. I will say this. If you have any thoughts about the show, if you want to come on the show, shout us out in the comments. We may or may not get you on. Depends on why you want to come on. Do you want to contribute to the show? Do you want to challenge us? Whatever it may be. If a Cincinnati Bearcat fan is watching this, or a Sun Devil fan wants to come on and defend your program, you're more than welcome. Probably don't want to listen to you, but we may have you on if we decide to do so. So feeling good about this week, and mix it up there in the YouTube comments for us.
Yeah, that's something we might start doing, actually. We've got a lot of people commenting. I do want to shout out one fellow listener, Judge Hadaway from Haskell, who now resides in Lubbock. He is a fine young gentleman. I know his daughters real well. They're great girls. And he is an avid listener of the show, believe it or not. I have text proof that he is listening to us and really enjoys. So let's find out if Judge Hadaway listens to the whole thing or not, though. So if this, we'll know on Thursday if he got here. But we would love to have some fellow alumni on, and so yeah, do like and subscribe and comment. We might get some opinions from y'all as well. So go ahead.
Yeah, and feel free to please share the show as well. We want to be the official NIL Texas Tech podcast, and so we really need help there. I think we've got a quality product. We want to be the voice in a way of the alumni of the greatest university on the face of the earth. So we'd love that if you guys would share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, Instagram, whatever platform you use. But help us grow the show, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, people don't know that all the money we've made from this show has gone directly to the Matador Club. So we're pretty humble about that, but every single penny we've made has gone straight to Texas Tech athletes.
We are impacting future 5 stars all across America.
Exactly.
All right, well, guys, this was a lot of fun. I'll see y'all Thursday, and let's go beat Cincinnati and go 2-0 in the Big 12. That sound pretty nice?
Let's do it. Thanks, Brennan.
All right, chug that Kool-Aid, Conrad.
I need to sleep tonight, so we'll stop here.
All right, boys. See y'all Thursday. Wreck 'em.
Wreck 'em.
All right, wreck 'em.